The model you see before you is an Airfix. No real painting was required, and it was on the cheaper end. It included a Type 76 turret system. It was a very simple design, almost cookie cutter, and there was not much detail to a very detailed tank. Early models. The T-34, originally designed in 1940 as T-34-76 multi-purpose tank, it severely hurt Soviet tactics until 1943, until they switched to a full main battle tank role. It had great mobility, excellent armor, which was sloped, and this was used to the point that the German Panzer V and Panzer VIs used this technology itself. The T-43 was a short-lived design, low priority, and it shared T-34 parts, and it couldn't repel the German 88 gun. The T-34-85 became needed after Kursk. It carried an M1939 52K Model 39 AA gun, which was the standard USSR AA gun, a 55 caliber barrel, muzzle velocity of 792 meters a second, or 2,598 feet per second. A Model 1943 version carried this turret, designation D-5T, in 1944 to 1958 used the Graben ZIS-S-53, of which 11,800 were made. It cost 164,000 rubles at the time to make it. 48,950 units were made until 1958. Surplus was sent to Poland, Romania, Hungary, Yugoslavia, the GDR, and the DPRK. The T-34's guns had a very long barrel and without a muzzle brake, so the recoil dictated a very large turret, or at least very long. This roomier design also had the advantage of being roomy enough for the 3 crewmen, the commander being freed from having to load the gun. This in turn helped him concentrate on possible targets and generally to have a better situational awareness of the battlefield. The advantage of a 3-man turret was already well known to the British since the 1920s, and the Germans had found it very convenient for their main battle tanks, the Panzer III and IV. This new turret was ordered and partially based on the T-43's turret and hurriedly adapted. It was a compromised design with a slightly reduced base ring, 2 periscopes, and the commander cupola relocated to the rear for full peripheral vision. The radio was also relocated, allowing easier access, better signal, and range. Apart from the turret, the hull was almost unchanged except for the turret ring. It had to be enlarged from 1.425 meters or 56 inches to 1.6 meters or 63 inches. Apart from the turret, the hull was almost unchanged except for the turret ring. It had to be enlarged from 56 inches to 63 inches to give it a more stable and sturdy base, but this also made the entire upper hull more fragile. The space between the huge turret and hull was also quite large and created natural shot traps. But the large hull supported quite well and the added weight without excessive stress on the suspension and main body frames, a testimony to the ruggedness of the original design. Stability was not compromised as trials showed. The hull was nonetheless reinforced and the turret frontal armor rose to 23 inches or 60 millimeters, like on the T-43. With an unchanged engine, transmission, gearbox, and suspension, weight rose by only 1 ton, from 30.9 to 32.9. Fuel capacity was augmented to 215 gallons, which gave a 223-mile range. Production rose after the introduction of this new model, notably due to the opening of the new lines in Tankograd. Since the whole parts of the Model 1943 had been simplified, the new T-34-85 Model 1943 inherited these, and deliveries rose to 1,200 each month by May 1944, shortly before the launch of the most massive operation planned by the Stavka, bagration. The drivetrain comprised a double rear drive sprocket, a front double idler, and 5 double road wheels of various types. The early production models were given rubberized ones, but because of shortages, the model 1944 had metal-trimmed spoke models, which became the norm. These gave a rough ride despite the Christie type of huge vertical coil springs, which probably reached the very limits of their potential. The engine was almost unchanged since the first T-34, still the reliable and sturdy 38-liter water-cooled V2 34 V12 diesel, which developed 520 horsepower at 2,000 or 2,600 RPM, giving a 16.25 horsepower-ton ratio. It was coupled with the same old constant mesh all-spur gear transmission, nearly obsolete at the time, with 4 forward and 1 reverse gear and steering by clutch brakes, which were a driver's nightmare. The best average speed in tests was 55 kilometers an hour or 34.17 miles per hour, but the usual cruise speed was around 47 to 50 kilometers an hour or 29.2 to 31 miles an hour, and the best possible off-road speed was around 30 kilometers an hour, 18.64 miles per hour. The T-34-85 was still quite mobile and agile, having a turning radius of about 7.7 meters or 25.26 feet. However, the range was somewhat reduced and consumption was around 1.7 to 2.7 kilometers per gallon or 1.1 to 1.7 miles per gallon on a rough ride. The starter was electric as well as the turret traverse, served by 24 or 12 volt electrical system. This was a model that I built. I hope you enjoyed listening to the history of it and enjoy what's to come.